You'll do anything you can to convince the skeptics that your car is the very best in its class. Douglas Ingram made a good case, but Phil Rhodes from Lincoln disagrees because for him, the best car is a Ford Capri Mk1.
Hi, I'm Phil Rhodes, I'm from Lincoln, and this is a Ford Capri 3000E. It's a car I sort of grew up with in the early 70s, and I used to have one as a road car, and now I've progressed to racing a Capri as well, which I find great fun. It's basically modified to 70s touring car regulations, so we've got basically a blueprinted engine, uprated suspension and brakes, and then the safety devices which are required nowadays. To me it should be top dog because it's just an iconic 70s car. It has superb styling and just a great reputation in this country. I've never been a big fan of American cars. I've always preferred a European or an English car, and the Capri's just sort of got so much history in England. It's just a car I've always liked. They've got a big powerful engine which you can't beat.
Phil is here with his 1972 Ford Capri Mk1. Now you've had the chance of watching Douglas go through the motions. You've seen how tough this panel can be. Do you think you can beat Douglas?
I'm sure I can beat him without any problem.
Okay, well, we'll have to see. Now, Richard, what do you think of the Ford Capri?
Well, I'm in two minds on this, Penny, because, you see, half of me remembers the Capris from the professionals, having grown up watching the professionals, and, of course, I mean, you just had to see the way they were driven there to want one, even though I was obviously far too young to drive. But that made a great impression. But then, during my formative driving years, if you like, in the late 80s, the Capri by then had got quite a bad reputation as a bit of a wide boys car. And if I'm being honest, I'm not sure it's ever really shaken that reputation. They're obviously, that was mainly the 1.6s and all the rest of it. And there have been better Capris since then, but it's kind of stuck because of the time it was. And I find it very difficult to shake that image.
So it's a bit of an image problem for you. Now, Doug, obviously this is a racing version of the road-going Capri. I think it's still road legal, isn't it?
It's road legal, yes.
Okay. But moving away from the racing image, what are your thoughts about the Capri?
Well, it's a car that was actually copied from the Mustang, the basic idea and the shape, and it was a sporty family car almost, and similar to the breeding of the Mustang. And it's very difficult to compare two similar looking but very different market cars, and it's a bit unfair. I mean, a great car in British motor history, and a great car for showing the British motor industry and how we were trying to copy a trend that was working pretty well in the States.
Right. Yeah, so as you say, this is Ford's attempt at a European version of the very successful American Mustang. Did it work for you?
I think it worked. I mean, I'm not sure of the sales, but it must be up around the million mark at least. I mean, you still see them on the road, including yours, Phil. I do like the Capri. I'm old enough now to remember in 1972 actually test driving one of these things out the showrooms, brand new. I did find that it had this tendency not to go around corners, but it is based, I believe, on the Mark II Cortina, so therefore It's a solid rear axle. It's quite crude in its mechanics.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there because we're running out of time. We're going to come back to this. I want to hear more about your driving experience. We'll hear more from the panel generally. We'll also have a chance to hear what Phil has to say about the motor that he thinks is the dog's. I want to get back to you, Cookie. Where were you with your driving experience of this Ford Capri?
Well, I'm old enough to watch this Capri run its lifespan. I've seen it do banger racing. I've seen it do stock car racing. I've seen it do the classic touring racing on the circuits.
I don't think there's much it hasn't done. In fact, I've even seen one of these doing hill climbs, very unsuccessfully, I must say, but, going backwards most of the time. Yeah, probably, but yeah, very capable. But yet again, if we're comparing it to a Mustang, I mean, this could do everything a Mustang could do. And it's the British. This was 1.1, I believe, 1.4, 1.6, 2, 2.9,
2.8 and 2.9. Yeah.
I mean, and so some people put V8s in them and all sorts, and the car would take it, and it's shows how capable it was.
I have to say that I think in defence of the Capri, Ford Europe didn't lose the plot with the Capri in quite the same way that Ford in the US did with the Mustang, because they just went
got
too
ugly
with the Mustang.
Went bigger and got ugly.
Yeah, whereas they did at least improved the engines, and they did evolve the Capri.
And they put a
hatchback
hatchback on
the
it,
Mustang,
didn't they?
yeah. So over its lifespan, I think it did improve. The interior, I'm not so necessarily sure about.
We have a problem at the moment because we have this car, which is obviously a race car, and we're comparing it to the Mustang, which is a beautiful road car.
Very
difficult.
Style.
My heart loves the Capri in the sense of it's historic to my lifetime, and Doug is not too happy with the Mustang. You know, it's a big old American brute. So we're not going to ask at the moment.
So for two cars that were actually meant to be quite similar, they're appearing to us to be very different at the moment. Now, our last debate about whether or not Phil's Ford Capri Mk1 is the dog's or not is coming up in a moment. But first, we sent our cameras out with Phil and with his lovely car to see how it looks in action. Well, the car looked great on the track, but you're used to thrashing it around a track, so that was just a normal day for you?
It was. That was just a quiet afternoon out. That was nothing to having other cars around me.
Yeah, of course, you were on rain out there. Now, listen, guys, we mustn't forget why we're comparing the Mustang with the Ford Capri. They look so different, they feel so different, but of course it was Ford's attempt to match the American success of the Mustang with the European version with the Capri. Now, do you think they've been successful with that, Richard?
Bearing in mind European tastes and requirements, I think if you look at the Mustang, one of the things is it's a bigger car. We have smaller roads here, we have less space, and that's obviously something they took into account with the Capri. And I think overall, for what it is, it's a success. I mean, as I said before, from my point of view, it's maybe tainted because of my timing, but I think it was a successful car. I think they hit the spot with it.
Can you see yourself ever owning one of these, Doug?
I did.
You did? How many did you have?
I had the 3 litre, Savage tuned 3 litre. So he was a bit mad.
So you are slightly biased then towards this one?
Yeah, but I had a Mustang as well once.
So where does your loyalty lie?
Well,
then?
the Mustang laid in the ditch, and the Capri didn't. Well, yeah. Yeah, I like my Savage was a great fun car. Yeah, and it was only the local police that made me sell it, really.
And the image that you're very happy with it. Well, you remember it all the way.
Well, that's right.
Back when, so you are.
As I said
biased.
early on, I'm quite an American-loving person in terms of cars. And at the moment, I think I prefer the Mustang, but it sounds better than Capri, doesn't it?
This is going to be a tough one. Now, I'm afraid the time for chatting has finished. Let's face the facts. A 3-litre V6 engine, 138 brake horsepower, but of course Phil's racing version has been modified to 240 horsepower. 0 to 60 in 8.6 seconds, a maximum speed of 120 miles an hour, and an estimated value of between 4 and 12,000. So Phil, this is your chance to convince that rotten panel over there that your car deserves the title of Top Dog.
That's right. I don't think there's really any competition with the Mustang. As stated by the panel earlier, it has got this almost boy racer image, but that is built up through a great reputation that's been gained over the years and years and years of the model. It's just a car that has got a standing in British history, whether it be on film sets or TV, or just everybody remembers them from the adverts, the car you always wanted.
Okay, there you go. The car you always wanted. Is it the car you always wanted? Would you ever want one? I need your little summary of the top dog potential of the Ford Capri. Richard?
It is iconic in its own right. Whether it is the car I always wanted, I'm not sure about. It's going to be a tough call, I think.
It is. Doug?
Sporty looks, motoring for the masses, great British public car, Dad being a boy racer, I like them.
And finally, Cookie?
And for me, the Capri, if I want to be honest, has never really cut the ice with myself. Nonetheless, nice car, really is the epitome of English motoring, really, in the last few years.
Yeah. And it's time for them to put their heads together because it's Top Dog decision time.
The Mustang's a beautiful muscle car, superb, against our lovely British Capri. Which is the best one?
I've seen way more Capris in my life than I've seen Mustangs, and that immediately gives a Mustang, you know, a certain
So if we were in the States and we were American panel, we're going to see far more, and then we'd be, wow, look, there's a Capri.
My heart loves the Capri.
From an iconic point of view, I think the Mustang.
I mean, this could do everything a Mustang could do.
Still don't think the Capri has ever had this Mustang.
We're agreed then.
Certainly, from my point of view, that gives it the edge.
Yeah. I'd go with the Mustang, but I still love the Capri.
So, Cookie, could you tell me on behalf of your panel, which is this week's top dog?
We've decided on the Mustang.
Ah.
They are, Phil.
Congratulations, Doug. Well done. Thank you very much.
You're a bit gutted there, Phil.
I'm very gutted, actually, yes.
You're trying to hide it. Not very well. And you must be thrilled to bits.
Yeah, I'm very pleased.
That's it for this week. We must thank everyone here at the National Motor Museum and Bewley for looking after us. And thank you, of course, to our panel. But join us next time to find out which fantastic iconic car will be crowned top dog.
And two more owners who think their car's the dog's, you know what, go head-to-head at the same time next week.